This portion of Morning Scramble is brought to you by Fane's Signature Group, Prescott Valley Entertainment District, where fun begins.
Oh, it's nothing like being organized, is it?
Live TV, ladies and gentlemen.
Ross Kapstein with us, author of a Rodeo Cowboy scrapbook. There are a lot of celebrities, high-profile people we hear so very little about throughout the decades, lurking in the shadows. And it takes someone like Ross to write about them and to bring to our focus how important they were in the course of our history, whether it be movies, which we're going to be talking about right now, or whether it be whatever walk of life. Tom Mix is probably the pivotal piece right here. Let's start with him, and then how do we get to C.R. Williams?
C.R. Williams was a rodeo cowboy star who performed during the teens and the 20s. He had his own Wild West show, drove around from rodeo to rodeo in a Buick Heliotrope convertible. He also was a Tom Mix double, and in some of the scrapbooks that I acquired, I've certainly learned a lot about him. And
now, you became acquainted with him when and where, about him, when and where, and what triggered your interest?
Well, as a former teacher and as a retired teacher, I always liked finding old photos, historical photos, and this collection came to me through a friend who happened to see a Craigslist ad, and he called me and told me, and I was closing up at an antique show, and I said, have him call me, and he, just as I was packing up, he came by and showed me the collection, and I bought it from the
Craig
Great
has a lot of things, doesn't he?
Big list.
Yes. So I was kind of very fortunate.
So what fell into your possession was, I'm looking at this might have been it?
Well, this was one of 3 original scrapbooks in a traveling trunk.
Wow.
And there were, just incredible photos, probably the most important collection, very long time. And it was preserved in a Las Vegas garage for over 100 years, or close to 100 years. And also 7 rolled up panoramas, which you'll see some
shots of those. We'd have shots of those.
And also the 2 famous belt buckles, some of the earliest rodeo belt buckles that you'll see. This one was given to him by the citizens of Cody, Wyoming, for winning the Big Basin
since
rodeo.
You're talking about that. Okay, that one was given to him when?
That was in 1920, given to him by the citizens of Cody. And of course, in the book I described, there was a piece of topaz, as the newspaper article described this in the book, over that disappeared over the years, but it's in gold, and it's a very old historic buckle.
All this stuff is old and historical.
And this, so you'll see him in a picture with his Hollywood chaps on, wearing that belt buckle. That was given to him in 1925 when he won first place at Belfouche, South Dakota.
Okay, now this is a smaller.
That's a smaller silver
belt buckle. I'm used, I guess they're all sizes, of course. The first one we showed was a lot bigger. But now, the period of time we're talking, his prominence, what years?
It's really called the golden age of rodeo, between the late teens and the 1929, 30.
And they still give buckles as rewards for winning events or coming and placing and whatever.
Definitely.
So is your book then, are there pictures from this in your book? Okay.
Based on this particular book, where I took, I thought it would only take a few weeks, and it's taken a year and a half to compile.
You always misjudge, of course. Now, the blanket that the books are laying on, was that on Trigger or Tony? Or
this was actually...
What was C.R. Williams' horse's name?
That I haven't been able to find yet.
Okay.
He maybe had a whole bunch of them.
They always named their horses.
Oh, I know.
Yeah.
And certainly back in the old days of rodeo, the horses seemed to be more prominent than the riders. People coming out to see the horses. And this was his horse blanket, is all I know that was in the collection. Wow. And the 3 scrapbooks, the 7 or 8 panoramas were all part of the collection.
So then we're anticipating, since you have those, and Craig had them first, that no living relative then,
I did buy this collection from the great-great-grandson who had inherited it, and he was speaking with his grandmother and decided that they would sell it to me, and I was very fortunate to buy it and
I'm
pick it up.
surprised a family member would ever even
I know.
sell that.
Unless they just were so disconnected from it. It's like, oh, I don't care. But congratulations to you for continuing his legacy. I mean, like you say, some of these people, they don't maybe make the major headlines, but they're an integral part of this country and its development. So by book and song, you've tried to commemorate C.R. Williams then.
I've always been into historical preservation one way or another.
And
Because you're a history teacher.
This is a part of a poster that was done for Jack Altieri's Rocky Mountain Roundup in Denver in the stockyards in 1925. And I also have a yard-long, which is a great yard-long of that particular event, actually from 1926. But I tried to put as much of the articles together and follow this rodeo cowboy's itinerary through the rodeos from the teens on through the 20s.
We're coming up to 100 years. Well, I mean, we're 90 years right now.
Right, and he was at Prescott in 1924. This is one of his early pictures.
I'll bet he was because Tom Mix made a lot of movies in Prescott, Granite Dells area. So he probably was in our area.
Well, I'll show you a picture, possibly. 1924, he finished third at the Prescott Rodeo. And we have his contestant pass also from that event.
Is that like overall cowboy? Because I know there are different events.
Bronc riding. He was a bronc riding.
Okay, and this one is?
This one is, he was called Chief of the Cowboys in this particular picture. And it was just a
shot of him
an early shot.
as a cowboy.
An early shot.
Yes, yes.
This was 1926 when he performed on Dungone, I think it is, at the Chicago Soldier Field. And the rodeo was a major. It was all the major venues at the time. New York City. This is
Yankee Stadium surprised me.
Right. Oh, certainly.
I'm picturing the Yankees. Oh, where's Babe Ruth? Well, he's not on a horse.
Well, if you look at this picture here, he was from Kalispell, Montana, and he moved to Hollywood at an early age. And those chaps, you'll see him in, and you can see that this particular belt buckle that he's wearing in that picture. So he was from Hollywood after that. And,
right. Exactly.
And just a well-dressed, great cowboy, called the best dressed cowboy, and just a
lot of cowboys are well dressed. A lot of cowboys are really spiffy. They look so nice. Ross, stay right there because we have more with you when we come back. We have a short commercial break. Money Radio 1510 brings you the Money Minute. You take a listen and we'll be right back.
And welcome back to the Morning Scramble. We're here with Ross Kapstein talking about C.R. Williams, both of whom are well-accomplished Renaissance kind of people. I mean, you were an inner city teacher and a singer and a songwriter and a fisherman and played tennis. And C.R. Williams not only was a cowboy and in movies, but he was a silversmith. Did he make any of these, or that probably was awarded to him?
Those were awarded to him, but there are articles from newspaper clippings in the book that describe his belt buckles and his bits and bridles that were highly prized.
And a rodeo star during the golden age of rodeo. Now, you cite that his most important contribution to the rodeo history is the fact that he documented and wrote on or the back of so many of the photos identifying who was in the photo. People that we may not have been able to identify without that.
Exactly. When I was exhibiting last year in Denver, I had some historians come up and they spent some time looking through some of the scrapbooks, and they were just, almost in tears of the fact that they hadn't seen 90% of the photos. Wow. And the ones that they had seen for some 30 years, he never knew who those people were, so he could actually say, I've seen this photo for 30 years and never knew who they were. Now he knew. So
he took a detailed description of who was in the photo to identify and for posterity, of course. Now, that looked like Prescott. Was that Prescott?
That was Prescott.
Can we possibly go back to that one? I'm so sorry. That was Prescott.
That was Prescott.
What year was
1924.
Okay.
And,
yes.
And he finished third in that particular event.
Interesting.
Right there. And I can't remember the call of the other contestants. And the yellow one you just saw was his contestant card from Prescott in 1924.
Okay, exactly.
This is a very interesting picture that I have. It was given to him by the famous artist James Ziegler in 1923 after he performed at Madison Square Garden.
Yeah, that was the previous photo that we just saw in this one.
And this one is from Denver. This is a wonderful panorama that he finished second in Denver in 1926.
Fabulous. And now you're going to be signing, showing, and where can we see you during this Frontier Day celebration?
Okay. I will be at the rancher's daughter, the rancher's wife, excuse me, Tom and Tammy Kelly from Kelly Beef. They have a wonderful new store that just opened up on Whiskey Row. And they've been very gracious and hospitable and let me set up there from 1 to 5 today and tomorrow.
Oh, really?
Also, I will be this morning from 10 to 12 and tomorrow at the Prescott Resort.
Resort. Okay, so immediately following the show, you're going to be at the Prescott Resort here in Prescott.
Yes, from 10 to 12, and then in the afternoon at
the rancher's
daughter.
wife.
Right, rancher's wife.
Rancher's wife.
Rancher's wife, and the beautiful
Yes,
store.
yes. Ross, thank you so much for being with us. We're going to take you to commercial break, and we're going to be hearing what? Set us up for what we're
You're
going to be
hearing my song,
seeing.
Rodeo Cowboy Star, which is a story about this whole venture.
Excellent. Seeing Ross immediately following the show at the
having
Prescott
you here.
Resort and Conference Center. When we come back, Watershed unites all of us.
He came from Kalispell, Montana, rode across the west, jumped on bucking broncos, right up there with the best. His golden laid 6-shooters, bits and bridles in high demand. He appeared as a time